Please don't bother me, I'm on my lunch break. Pizza, burger, sandwich, lunch break, tofu, salad, hot dog, lunch break.
Are we all ready for the next episode of Lunch Break?
Woohoo! It's more like coffee break, though. A little early.
It is.
Both have coffee. What is that in there?
Green tea.
Oh, okay.
Kathleen is not a coffee drinker.
No, but it's matcha, which I'm getting into.
So we talked about matcha on another episode
Probably.
where, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's just a different type of tea.
It's green tea. Isn't it the leaves of green tea? I'm not really 100% sure. I think it's the green tea in like the purest form.
James, we're going to refer to you.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think Kathleen is right, though. It's just
Okay.
about the type of leaves. But I don't know for sure.
I think green tea is where like they've already done it for you. They've kind of already crushed
Processed it?
leaves. Yeah. And then matcha is more, I think it has more.
Yeah, it's
Good
just a form
stuff.
of green tea.
Yeah, there you go. It tastes good.
Well,
It
that's good. That's
Well,
better than
like-
it tasting bad. And you're
Well, no,
drinking
like
it.
regular green tea sometimes can be kind of gross. It doesn't taste too
Can you tell between the different brands?
No.
So I drink a lot of coffee, and I can generally tell, between like Starbucks and Folgers, but I can't tell the difference between Folgers and Maxwell House or anything else. It
Sure.
doesn't. I don't really care
yeah,
yeah.
I don't care
as long as
either.
it
Yeah.
gives me the caffeine.
Right, yeah. As long as I can feel the rush.
Yeah.
I can tell when it's loose leaf versus like Lipton, but only because it's really good versus
it's-
just like it gets the job done.
Because
you know?
it's loose and you start getting tea in your teeth.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to pull a spoon out and eat it.
Right.
That'd be so gross.
Well, I said it before, but I'll say it again. This is Lunch Break, the podcast from App and Media Group. I'm AJ,
I'm Kathleen.
and today we are joined, you've heard him already,
Is that who our guest is?
yeah, joined by James Carr of Longleaf Media.
Hey, everybody. Well, so excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you were on episode number 4, and this is now episode 18.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
That's amazing.
That many people talk to us?
Has Kathleen won any games yet?
She has. She's won.
I actually heard the mac and cheese one. That was amazing.
Yeah, no, she has. She's won quite a few. Did you win the ice cream?
I think barely, right? Or
I don't remember.
I think it was a showdown right to the end.
Yeah.
They might have won though because it was 2 versus 1.
Right. Yeah. No,
And-
that was the main reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there has been some pretty stiff competition.
Yeah.
Um,
People
but
get really into it, actually.
Yeah,
It's
for
kind
sure.
of funny. They show up and they're like, where are the games?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, they're here for the games. They want to compete. They want to beat Kathleen. So James, you are with the Atlanta-based Longleaf Media, which
Correct.
creates content, hosts events, and raises money in support of small-scale, sustainable farmers and the good food movement.
Yeah. Doing a lot of that recently. We got
Yeah?
a big event coming up on Monday.
And that's why you're here.
That is why I'm here. The event is called AgLanta Eats. It is at the Atlanta Botanical Garden, and it is raising money for a new initiative that the city of Atlanta is embarking on, making vacant city-owned property as well as some land under Georgia Power easements available for farmers and community gardeners.
That's cool.
It is cool. A lot of these sites are also located within a food desert, so this was originally conceived as a part of former Mayor Reed's goal of ensuring that all 75% of City of Atlanta residents have fresh, healthy food within a half mile.
And so a food desert is defined as an area that doesn't have that.
Well, I mean, loosely, that's one way to think about it. And actually, as I've learned, it's more of an economic issue. So it is somewhere that combines low income and a lack of access to even a grocery store. So you're thinking about areas where people can't afford cars, and the main thing that they have are corner stores or gas stations where you're just not getting any fresh produce. You're getting maybe some frozen foods. You're maybe getting some canned foods. There may be the occasional apple or banana in there, but you're really not having the options that you need. And so a lot of folks who live in these neighborhoods are taking a bus 1 hour both ways to get their month's groceries. And you can imagine the struggle of carrying, 20 grocery bags on a bus and having to sit there for an hour.
Well, I remember I used to live in college for a year. I lived downtown Chicago and lived in an apartment. We didn't have cars, so we would have to walk to the grocery store. And of course, in college, the main thing that you're buying is beer.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
I had to walk probably a mile, and I remember getting like a huge case of, I think I did like 24 glass bottles of Miller Lite, and walked the mile, which, maybe I should have gotten 2 12-packs and had one of my friends carry one of them, but, you live and you learn.
You live and you learn. And that's a small example of the struggle. But I think to your point, though, that everyone can relate to this idea in some way.
Right.
The importance of having food that you can access that's healthy and safe. It just provides, just general peace of mind and reassurance. So many people don't even think about it because we have created a lot of access points, but the people who are left behind in urban areas and also rural areas. A lot of people think primarily of food deserts in urban areas because you imagine in rural areas that they're growing the food there. But you have to also remember that a lot of agricultural products are really not edible. A lot of the corn that they grow in the Midwest, for example, is not edible. They use it to
feed livestock, right?
To feed livestock, and they also turn it into ethanol for gas, and they also turn it into high fructose corn syrup. Those are the primary uses of the corn that is grown on the best soil in the world. Just think about that for a second, okay? And then, of course, you have other things like if you have, major chicken processing facilities, or, they're growing the chickens there, they're getting them, those chickens are being hauled somewhere else to be processed. So that's not really a source of food either. And then folks who are growing things like cotton, that's obviously not edible. There's a huge pine tree growing industry here.
You don't eat cotton?
Generally, it can be done.
Can it?
Oh, yeah. I think I saw an episode of Weird Things People Eat one time.
Oh, I saw one of those episodes. Sorry that this is like totally tangent. But there was an episode of My Weird Obsession.
Yeah.
Where this girl was drinking nail polish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
And she was obsessed with it, and every day she would drink an entire bottle, and then I think she would have to use the nail polish remover on her teeth to get it off. Yeah.
Did she not have access to fresh food?
I think she did. I think she just liked. It was like some type of coping mechanism. I think there's something happened in her life that wasn't great or
you think
something.
she was like a nail biter and liked.
Actually, that might have been how it came about.
Because I'm just trying to think how did it end up in your mouth
Yeah.
in the first
I don't
place?
know.
And I'm like, I bite my nails. That could happen.
Yeah, no, it was weird. There was another episode, not food related, but a guy who was in love with his car, like sexually attracted to his car.
Wow. What kind of car was it?
It was like a Ford Taurus.
It wasn't
or something.
a James car.
No. What's a James car?
That's me.
No, I know, but I thought you meant like your car.
Oh, that was good.
Because your last name is Carr.
My name is.
Yeah. Okay.
That was really good.
Sorry, it took a second to catch up, but I got there. No, but he was in a romantic relationship with his car. It was bizarre. It's a weird show.
Yeah.
I don't have
Well, I
cable.
guess weird is in the title, so that,
yeah.
that makes sense.
People can eat weird things that
Right.
they shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't have cable anymore, so I can't watch it. I don't think it's on Netflix.
It made me
Come on,
uncomfortable.
Netflix.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the actual topic at hand. AgLanta.
Right, yes. At AgLanta Eats, we're going to be unveiling, I think, 22 farmers and gardeners who are going to be now accessing these properties. I think, and I'm saying I think a lot because this is a brand new initiative and this is a pilot of that. So things have changed quite a lot. The general idea that I mentioned at the beginning of the show is the intent, but in terms of the specifics, there's just a lot of details to work out.
Wasn't there was an AgLanta last year also?
There was, and so there was last year was called the Taste of AgLanta, but the Taste of Atlanta did not like that, so we have rebranded.
Okay,
and so yes, in general, this has been an event that has raised money for this program. This is really the first time, though, that we can people are going to be on the property, and we can show there have been a couple of groups that have been on properties that have been growing already. And so this is kind of the first time when it really feels real. Before, it was a lot about, how do we actually, as a government, how do we enable residents to use our property and deal with things like insurance, deal with things like liability, deal with things like getting a water meter installed there so that, there can be measurement and tracking, and potentially down the road so that water could, possibly be paid for. Again, this is all a pilot, so we're trying to see how this works. And the long-term goal is certainly for this to be an established program of Atlanta, but for these models to potentially be used around the country. You think about the power line easements, especially, there are, millions of acres under power lines. And so if we can establish that something like this can work, that it can be compatible with the needs of the power company as well, because there's a lot of restrictions that will come with working on a Georgia Power site, as you might imagine. If we can really show that this is a working model, that things aren't going to get out of control, that it's not going to cause a headache or problem for the businesses that support it, then I think it's something that can expand and really be a model for the rest of the nation.
So are there other places that do this, or was it just a new idea in Atlanta?
So there have been other municipal-led growing programs. I believe Baltimore has. Baltimore is the one that I have heard referenced the most. I believe there are a couple of others, but for some other context, Atlanta is the first city in the country that has an urban agriculture director, and this initiative of AgLanta in general is kind of his brainchild. So a couple of other things that he's been able to do is get a few rules changed for the way farmers markets operate. A lot of them actually in Atlanta were operating illegally.
How so?
There was just a certain fee structure that they were supposed to be paying that would have been astronomical.
So they weren't selling illegal vegetables or something?
No, they weren't. No, yeah. It was not like a black market.
Yeah. This is
black market vegetables.
For cucumbers.
Yeah, these underground cucumbers. No, it was more just about like the general permitting. So he got that changed so that it was, technically operating within the city rules. It's sometimes with this movement, things are evolving so quickly and people's preferences are changing very quickly that it takes a while for these ordinances and codes to catch up. So he's done a little adjusting there. And another initiative he's done is he started the largest urban food forest in the country, 7.1 acres in Browns Mill, also located in a food desert.
What is a food forest?
A food forest, and there's actually potentially one in the works here in Alpharetta, but is essentially where you are maintaining the principles of a forest, but you are planting more edible plants, shrubs, ground cover, trees, to make up that canopy. So when you think about the forest in general,
raspberry bush
would be great. Pawpaw trees, which do well in shade and are also native, are another great addition. You could do blueberries, blackberries, strawberries make great ground cover. So this isn't necessarily something you would be doing if you think about production, heavy production. But if you can establish a food forest and put in a bunch of different crops or plants that produce fruit throughout the year, you can potentially have a year-long resource worth of food, and you really don't have to do a ton of maintenance. If you think about any forest, there's nobody out there watering those plants and trees.
So is the idea for residents or just random people to walk into this forest and pick food if they want it?
Yeah, and there's also educational opportunities. So you're teaching people about what is actually edible, what could be medicinal, what could you make teas out of, what can you make dyes from. There's all kinds of different learning opportunities and community building opportunities that come when you create an asset like that, because there are so many different things you can do with the berries or the fruit that is produced or the vegetation. They also have established community garden sites and raised beds that are going to be more for actually growing vegetables. And I think there'll be a little bit more structure to how that works in terms of, you sign up for a lot and you would have to maintain it to a certain standard. But the food forest is definitely more for, it's really just for people to enjoy. You can go just for a walk in there. But if you have if you have actually edibles growing there, you're going to maybe attract some more birds, and that's going to attract some other types of species. So then it becomes like this just so much more interesting experience because you're seeing the wildlife, you're getting different smells, you can taste things. You really can engage all of your senses. And, it's also super sustainable. The food is very healthy. So it's kind of a wonderful thing to be thinking about doing in general.
It's kind of like a win-win because I know Suzanne, one of our coworkers, goes to somewhere around here. Wills Park, and she has
a community garden, plot in the community garden at Wills Park.
And then David, another coworker, brought in vegetables from his garden at home, and I bring in stuff during this. It's just funny how excited we get when we have fresh food that we made ourselves, It's kind of weird that we're so disconnected from the food that we eat that it's like really exciting when, hey, I grew a tomato, like look at me, Well,
to that point, the vast majority of human history, we have eaten food that came within walking distance. Not like the store was in walking distance, like the tree or the garden.
The source.
So that is why we get excited about it, because it's like within us to be doing that kind of thing. And then from within there, to your point, bringing it in and sharing it with people, that's also very innate within our culture. Giving back, helping your neighbors, working together. Like if someone else in the office loved canning and making pickles, then David's extra cucumbers, become another source of activity and engagement and another healthy food to eat. So, that is generally kind of the mission of Longleaf Media, is really to kind of connect people back to this lifestyle that we are very familiar with, and that I believe, and that research certainly shows to some degree, really will help with our physical and mental conditions that we're dealing with at an astronomical rate these days. There's a lot of studies that show putting your feet in the soil can help with depression and anxiety.
My wife, Kimber, talks a lot about like touching trees and like being connected to nature. And there's some type of something similar where putting your feet in the dirt, you're like connected to the world. Nature.
The soil and the dirt is made up of everything that used to be alive on the planet. It has fallen to the ground and it is decomposing, and all of that is necessary information for our continued survival. And it's not information like you look on your phone and you start to understand it. It's like you eat it and it becomes a part of you. The soil is so critical to healthy food. Healthy soil builds healthy communities. There's been fascinating studies about soil health and the health of communities that has come out since the early 1900s. And, there have been predictions that have said we wouldn't need modern medicine because with the advancements we have made in soil knowledge. But, in the industrial kind of world that we live in, that all of that research is pushed to the side. And, it's sad that those things become opposed, because we need modern medicine, but we also need healthy food, and we need to figure out ways, as businesses and as governments and just as people, where we need both. We need both things. And I think at the end of the day, if we start growing more of our own food in our backyards, in our community gardens, under power line easements, we can create that balance a bit better, and we can really have that conversation. But right now, we can't even have the conversation because the food is all coming from the same source,
So after the last episode you were on, you talked a lot about, growing food yourself and growing vegetables, and you don't have to start out growing everything. You can grow one of your favorite things and just grow that and then go from there. And so Kimber and I, my wife, Kimber, I don't know if you knew that she was my wife, but we decided let's grow some peppers because we really like peppers. So
nice.
I grew a banana pepper plant, and Kimber is doing green bell peppers. Mm-hmm. And I've actually had a number of banana peppers. What do you call it? Sprout or
sure, yeah,
flower. Well, we've already picked them.
Oh, harvested, yeah.
So that's the term that I was looking for. But no, it's back to Kathleen's point. It's like cool to see something that you've grown yourself and be able to enjoy it. Kimber's bell peppers haven't been doing too well.
No, really?
We're still waiting. I don't know. Maybe they just take longer.
Do you do it at, where do you do it at?
So we have a couple, because we live in an apartment, we have a couple of planters that we
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you can do banana peppers and bell peppers in that?
Well, the banana peppers have have been harvested already, but I'm not sure. Maybe the green pepper plant, maybe it needs more soil.
Yeah, it might. I mean, the bells, they're just bigger,
Right.
a bit thicker, maybe just easier to grow the bananas.
I don't know.
There's all kinds of different, factors, and that's kind of what makes every little site unique. And one of my favorite thinkers on this subject is Alan Savory, and he has a fantastic TED Talk. This is a guy who...
Is that his actual name?
Alan Savory? Yes.
He didn't change it. It's like, I'm going to get into food and change my last name to Savory.
So he was actually in wildlife management.
Oh, okay.
He's I believe South Africa, was personally responsible for killing 40,000 elephants or something like that
Holy cow.
over the course of his career, because he believed that the overpopulation of elephants was crushing the vegetation and the wildlife and causing desertification. And he realized after years of this that the problem was getting worse. And he was like, well, I'm doing what all of the research and everything I've been taught says to do about this problem, and it's not working. And so anyway, his theory was we need to have a completely different methodology of grazing. It's really fascinating. I would recommend going to listen to the TED Talk so I don't have to dive fully into it. But it's really about mimicking nature. And that kind of gets back into what I was talking about with the food forest idea. But look at what nature does. And, we can kind of tweak some things so that they're beneficial for us and for other parts of the ecosystem. But one of the things that he said at a site visit he did at a farm in South Georgia was, no one can really tell you what to do with your farm site. Certainly you can get advice and different things, but you're going to know how much sun that plot gets. You're going to know your soil type. You're going to know this and that. And from experience, you're going to be like, well, we're not going to do green peppers next year.
Right.
But if I were to come along and be like, why don't you try bell peppers? But you have the experience and knowledge to know that might necessarily work there. And so that's kind of what makes this all fun too. Like, well, I love this, but I can only grow this. And so therefore I grow a lot of this because my neighbor 2 doors down likes this and they can grow tomatoes. So we trade.
That's a good system.
Yeah.
So with AgLanta, there's going to be a bunch of different small farmers.
So we're going to be unveiling the farmers who are going to be on these sites. And there will also be farmers there who have provided food for the event. So we have about 14 chefs from Atlanta, and also Melanie from Golda Kombucha, another former guest, will be there
Very cool.
serving some drinks. And they're going to be preparing food that we have procured from Atlanta, and then some of it from the state of Georgia as well through our partner at the Common Market. And they'll be preparing about 2 to 3 ounce bites. We have some vegan options. We have some meat options. We have some gluten-free options. So we have a really nice spread of different types of food. The farmers who have grown that food will be in attendance as well. And so it's really going to be a really nice mixture of chefs, of nonprofit leaders, of farmers, and gardeners, and just different other people who are interested in this program, and also people who love eating delicious food from some of these really great chefs. And we'll be at the Botanical Garden with their Imaginary World exhibit, which is just truly stunning. Like 30 feet high phoenix and dragons and just massive floral sculptures. It's really amazing. And so then there'll be some live music, so you can get some bites and walk around the garden and check out what they have going on and listen to some music. And we'll have a silent auction where we'll be trying to raise some money. We'll also be launching an IOBY campaign, which is kind of similar to Kickstarter, but more community and nonprofit oriented. And that money is going to be mostly for the farmers themselves to buy things like equipment that they may share among the sites. Different other purchases. That's kind of going to be to be determined. I think we're going to assemble some wish lists. And then, there's a committee and different folks who are engaged more in the actual program that'll kind of help to figure out, what all right, so 4 people need this, then we can get one of those to share, and that kind of stuff.
So is there a wait list, or how do you obtain one of these plots?
So there was an application period that ended on July 14th. Or no, what's the date today? June 14th.
So there's an application.
There
date.
was an application process. You can visit aglanta.org and you can kind of get more information. There will be more application periods as more sites become available. One of the more important things in this program as a whole has been the partnership with Groundwork Atlanta, who's the nonprofit that kind of oversees this program. Along with their partnership with Newfields, they have to make sure that all of the sites have done the appropriate soil testing so that, it's safe to grow food. And they also have more of an indication of what would be good to grow there based on the nutrients available in the soil. So as that work continues, more sites will become available. I think they're doing that kind of on like a quarterly basis. But again, being a pilot program, more sites could become available sooner. It may take longer for some to develop. It's really very much a work in progress.
Are you going to try and get a site?
I don't think that I will try to get a site. I actually kind of have there's a church near where I live now that has a site. So I think I'm going to get involved with that site. But, the application is really geared towards people who have been farming or been gardening. And so there's preferential points if you've been through a training program, such as like a UGA Master Gardener program or like a Truly Living Well grower education program, Habasha Inc. There's several kind of training opportunities available in the city that if you go through, you're more likely to get access to one of these sites.
So, and then the idea is to grow fruits and vegetables, food, and then give it back to the community.
Well, I mean, so there's the community garden sites and the farm sites will operate a bit differently. Community garden sites will kind of be more self-governed. So, for example, at one of the sites, they planted rows just outside their garden that anyone is free to come and take anything. But then there are plots inside their fencing that are, more for what the community wants to do. So they may bring it home and just cook it. They may take some and set up a little farmer's market and sell it to the community. The farmers, I believe, are more operating on a business model. So they will be focusing on creating partnerships with chefs and different things like that. But there's also a number of kind of different, like I believe someone's planning to grow hops under one of the Georgia Power sites. So that's kind of a new model. I don't really know of anyone who's growing hops agriculturally here in Georgia, for production. So that's interesting. I think another site is going to be focused on small ruminants such as goats or sheep and raising those animals. So, that can create some different opportunities. Potentially you have wool, you have meat production, you have milk production, cheese. So that kind of creates an industry, as it were. And so that's not necessarily food that will go straight back into the community, but certainly the intent is for there to be a much more widely available array of different options of food for the community to choose from.
It sounds good. Sounds tasty.
Should be tasty, yeah. Mm-hmm. It won't be tasty for a while. These, it's going to take a lot of work for the farmers to get into that production mode. There's still a couple of hurdles they need to clear to actually get on the land. July is a tough time to be starting a farm or garden. First of all, it's brutally hot. And second of all, it's tough to get any seedlings in the ground. That's partly why we're doing some fundraising and some attention raising for these programs so that we can get some volunteer help and that we can raise some money to help these sites get the infrastructure they need to be successful.
AgLanta is Monday, starts at 5, goes till 8.
That's right. If you get
Botanical
a VIP
Gardens.
ticket, it starts at 4.
Oh, so how much are tickets?
Tickets, general admission are $45 and VIP tickets are $75. And then you'll get each of them come with a different amount of food tickets that you can get.
Do you know the breakdown?
I believe you can get 5 food tickets and 2 drink tickets for general admission. I think it's 8 and 3 for VIP. And then VIP also has a couple of extra areas that you can go to.
Exclusive.
And you can also get in that extra hour early.
That's cool.
The black market cucumbers are there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you get them.
First dibs.
Sounds like a good time.
It sounds like a great time.
Like a tasty time, isn't that what you said earlier?
Tasty time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun, and we're hoping obviously that the program continues to grow. And like I said, I would love to be a part of working with different entities to kind of help with some best practices about what we've learned on this project, because it's been intense. And I am fortunate enough to be on the steering committee of the Alpharetta City Farm that's in development.
Oh, really?
So actually, yeah. So tomorrow on Saturday there is a kind of a visioning session at Alpharetta City Farm, where you can kind of talk about what you would want to be in such a property. If this is something that intrigues you, I would encourage you to check that out and be a part of what could be here in Alpharetta. There's some other cool community garden and orchard type of stuff going on in Metro Atlanta, so it's really an exciting time to be in the local food movement, because there is a lot of awareness about it. You're starting to see governments respond to this need and really focus on how can we provide more food for our residents. And again, I mean, back to the point we talked about at the top, it's not about Alpharetta or Atlanta providing all the food for their residents. That is not possible. But to be able to provide just those extra options that are healthier and that are fresher and that build community, it's just it's a really a priceless opportunity.
Well, again, we're here with James Carr from Longleaf Media. We have to take a short break, but we'll be right back. So stay tuned. Hey, this is AJ, one half of the podcast Lunch Break.
And this is Hans Zappen, I guess the entire whole of the Inside the Box podcast.
And we're here to talk about an issue
Yes.
that we're both having.
Yes.
We have favorite restaurants and favorite places to shop, but we don't have a way to tell people.
Yes. And it's confusing. There's so many of them, and there's lots of different categories. It's hard to keep them all straight.
It is. There's like possibly over 100 categories that I can think of that I would want to tell people what my favorite place is.
Yes. And not just food, but medical services, professional services, anything you can think of. And then, of course, dozens and dozens of different food services.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But luckily, just before I started talking, I saw something that's going to make it so much easier.
What?
It is the Best of North Atlanta contest vote by Appen Media Group.
I've heard of it.
Have you?
Yes.
Well, that would make sense because Appen Media Group is hosting the voting.
Ah, yes. So tell me about it, AJ. How can people find it?
So it's super easy to find. You go to northfulton.com/Best of North Atlanta, and you're going to come up to a landing page. You're going to see 5 different categories.
What are they?
You have recreation, retail, restaurants, services, and medical.
Ooh.
And you're going to click on one of those buttons, and it's going to take you to a form. It's going to ask you for some basic information. Make sure that you are who you say you are.
You're not from Russia.
You're not from Russia. You're not a Russian bot. And then you get to vote on your favorite things.
So if I have a favorite pizza place,
You can vote on it.
okay.
That is one of the categories.
What about a favorite burger place?
That is also on the list.
Also a category. Wow. Okay.
So it's perfect. If you're listening to Lunch Break right now, which I hope most of you are, chances are you have some favorite places that you like to visit, some
Yes.
favorite restaurants in North Atlanta.
And you want them to stay in business. So vote for them so that other people can find them. You want to keep eating their food.
Yes. And I want to find out who your favorite places
And find
are.
some new places.
Find some new places.
Yeah,
Eat some new
exactly.
foods.
Okay. What was the website again?
So it's northfulton.com/Best of North Atlanta.
Hi, Lunch Break listeners. This is Hans Zappen, host of the Inside the Box podcast. I'd like to invite you to check out our show just as soon as you wrap up this episode. We are a news podcast focused on taking deep dives into important issues in the North Atlanta community. We profile local leaders and ask tough questions so that you can be in the know. Just search Inside the Box in the iTunes App Store or wherever you download your podcast.
And we are back with more Lunch Break. Still here with James Carr, the car man. Oh, he's got the squeaker. Because our next segment today is Food Fight. Kathleen is going to compete against James to see who knows more food trivia. We're going back to the 4 rounds. Each round has a different point value. and the person with the most points at the end of the game wins.
All right.
And these games were actually written for a different guest that fell through. So I actually came up with these a while ago, and so they're not vegetables or.
So this might be a bit more of a
Good,
fair
even playing
contest.
field.
Yeah.
So this one, it's all about like different chefs.
Okay.
Yeah. So this first game is called Chef Boyardee or SpaghettiOs. So I'm going to list off a shape, and you have to say
It's like mac and cheese all over again.
right. So right in Kathleen's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'm more
So-
versed in mac and cheese, though.
So the first person to buzz in and correctly guess either Chef Boyardee or SpaghettiOs gets 1 point.
Okay.
James is going to be manning the squeaker, and we couldn't find the bell. Our office was just renovated, so some of the stuff is still MIA. So Kathleen is going to be using her hands. Okay, the first shape is DC superheroes. James,
Chef Boyardee.
that is correct. James gets 1 point.
Yes.
Good job. The next shape, Spider-Man. Kathleen. Uh-oh.
SpaghettiOs.
That is correct.
Okay, tough choice.
The next shape, the Super Mario Brothers. James.
I'm going to go with SpaghettiOs.
It is SpaghettiOs.
I think they have a thing with S's. Spider-Man and SpaghettiOs, Super Mario. This is a thing here.
That could be, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to keep going and see.
AJ's like, you foiled it.
Game's ruined.
The next shape or flavor, this not really a shape. Rice with chicken and vegetables. Kathleen.
SpaghettiOs?
No, it's Chef
No S.
Boyardee.
No S.
So,
So was it like
I've
in?
got their whole marketing campaign down.
so I'm going to give the point to James since you answered incorrectly.
Yes.
The next flavor, organic pasta with tomato and cheese sauce. I'm going to give it to Kathleen.
Yeah.
Oh man, the pressure's on. Organic pasta with
Tomato and cheese sauce.
SpaghettiOs.
That is correct. Did you ever eat SpaghettiOs or Chef Boyardee as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As children? My favorite was the rings. Ooh, I was a SpaghettiOs boy.
Isn't that like the whole SpaghettiO?
Well, but
thing?
with the meatballs?
Isn't that still the whole?
Yeah.
So the normal,
The
original,
normal, the original with the
SpaghettiOs.
I was a classic kind of kid.
But someone brought up the fact that isn't that kind of gross to be eating canned meat? Because, I mean, how long has that been sitting in the can? You know?
Well, if you think about it, aged meat is definitely a thing. Fresh meat is not really a thing. So I think it's probably fine.
There's probably a butt ton of sodium,
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Through the roof.
probably safe.
Yeah, definitely safe from the meat. Maybe not from the sodium intake.
Right. Okay, the next flavor, shape, what have you? Chili mac. James?
Chef Boyardee.
It is Chef Boyardee. You knew that.
I mean, I'm just sticking to my theory, even though we just disproved it. That's all I have to say for myself.
The next flavor, cheesy burger macaroni. Kathleen?
Chef Boyardee.
It is Chef Boyardee.
It always grossed me out.
Huh. I don't think I've ever had that.
I don't know why I can like picture the whole aisle of Chef Boyardee options right now. It's not like I eat them.
You're in the zone. Or
I
in the
don't know.
aisle, I guess.
Yeah.
It's in your mind's eye.
Your mind's aisle.
The mind's aisle. The next shape, mini ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Kathleen.
SpaghettiOs.
No, that's Chef Boyardee.
That's crazy.
Dang.
I was totally going to guess SpaghettiOs. I mean, they've already got the O. Why not the rest
Yeah.
of the alphabet?
Well, are you ready for this next one? A to Z's.
Well, it's SpaghettiOs. Yeah. It's like process of elimination.
Well, you know, that's why I asked if you were ready.
I was.
All right, this is the last shape. Star Wars.
SpaghettiOs.
The SpaghettiOs. The S.
Oh, right.
So at the end of round 1, James is leading 7-3.
Wow.
But we still have a lot left. Oh, you know what? We can't do this next game because I don't have my cards with me.
So I win.
Well, I guess we're going to
For,
play...
like, guess words, that
yeah,
one? Oh.
yeah. So I guess we'll play 3 rounds.
Okay. Sounds great
Yeah,
at this
sorry.
point for me.
So we're skipping round 2, moving right on to round 3. So I'll give you both 10 points for round 2.
Fair.
So it is now 17-13. So the next game is the showcase chowdown, where you have to guess closest to the number without going over.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And this one has to do with famous chefs or cooks on TV and how many episodes they appeared in.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to give you like a description of the character in the show, and then you have to tell me how many episodes they appeared in, and it's the closest without going over.
Okay. All right.
So for number 1, though he was only employed briefly as a chef on Dawson's Creek, Pacey, played by Joshua Jackson, appeared on how many episodes between 1998 and 2003?
That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, not at
Is
all.
that like
I
wait?
thought it was going to be like,
How many Emerald episodes are there?
Well-
how many times has Gordon Ramsay been on TV, and how
Yeah.
many shows? But
So-
hey, this is
So just as some background for how I came up with the games, we were originally supposed to interview an actual chef.
oh right.
And so I didn't want to like take away like let's talk about these other like real life chefs and then like
see,
deter
I see.
from
Oh.
him. So that's why I came up with Chef Boyardee and then these fictitious chefs.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of the thought process as to how
I dig it.
You know, just some magic behind the scenes of how this show comes together.
And I don't need the squeaker for this. We're both guessing.
No,
Is
you,
that right?
you don't.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And I guess I don't.
All right.
James, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 32.
How long did the show run?
It was from 98 to 2003.
It's not that long. I'm going to do 15.
The actual answer was 128 episodes.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what, 98, 99.
That's a lot. They said he was short-lived.
No, he was only employed briefly as a chef. So he was on all the episodes.
Oh, I thought
Did you not watch Dawson's Creek?
No.
Pacey?
Didn't watch it either, no.
It was
I mean, I watched a couple of episodes.
Dawson's best friend.
Okay.
Hey.
It was
yeah.
like, who's Joey going to end up with, Dawson or Pacey?
Okay.
No? So, okay, well.
That makes more sense, though. Him as a character, not him as a chef.
As a chef, right, yeah.
Oh, sorry. That was a little,
No, it's okay.
I guess I misphrased that one. So it's basically how many, all of these are how many episodes did they appear on,
Okay.
regardless of profession.
Okay, I got it.
Well, I'm really butchering these games today. But for question number 1, James, you are awarded 3 points. So number 2, Melissa McCarthy played the klutzy cook
Oh, yeah.
Sookie on Gilmore
Sookie.
Girls. Sookie?
Suki.
Suki. She appeared on all but one episode from 2000 to 2007. How many episodes did she appear on?
Oh, I've seen every episode of Gilmore Girls.
2007.
Yeah. And Kathleen, we'll have you answer first since James answered.
It's a lot of pressure. I've
is.
watched every episode multiple times. So, trying to think of how many episodes are in a season. How many seasons there are. I'm doing some math, which means it's going to be very wrong. I'll go with 250.
I was going to guess 127.
153. So James gets the answer correct.
Yes.
For another 3 points.
I'm bombing this.
It's tough. It's tough. Okay, Courtney Cox played Monica Geller, the neat freak chef on Friends. Monica appeared on every episode of Friends, which started in 1994 and ran until 2004. How many episodes did she appear on?
Man. I think this is going to be closer to that 250 number. I'm going to go with 248.
200.
It was 236. Kathleen gets it.
Finally. I'm having to lower my numbers. What I'm expecting is what I'm learning.
And this one, you're going to have to lower it quite substantially from the previous 3 answers. On Seinfeld, the soup Nazi was famous for his catchphrase, "No soup for you." How many episodes did he appear in?
1.
I don't know, 2.
2 is correct.
What? The Soup Nazi was on a second episode?
He was on the finale, I believe.
Oh, yes, he was, because he was a character witness against the whole crew.
Yeah.
Wow. Great guess,
Making a
Kathleen.
comeback.
Making a comeback.
I figured it would be a trick question.
Yeah, got me.
Maybe like a passing reference. I don't know. I've never seen it, so.
You've never seen Seinfeld?
It really shows that the one that I have seen, Gilmore Girls, multiple times.
Well, and
Sucked.
that's how I am with Seinfeld. I've seen it multiple times. But the finale, well, people have opinions about finales in general. The Seinfeld finale is considered,
Subpar?
subpar.
What's the deal with that finale?
What's the deal with that finale? Well, it's kind of funny
come
because they then
on.
tried to do, they kind of like made up for it on a later episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was kind of cool how they did that. But, I think mostly people would rag on finales because it's like, well, why are you taking my show away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap up something you have like an emotional connection to and all that.
True. All right. The last famous TV chef for this round. The character of Chef worked in the school cafeteria on South Park. Voiced by Isaac Hayes, his character was gruesomely killed off in season 10 after disagreements with the creators. How many episodes did he appear in?
I'm going to go with 75.
Kathleen?
100.
It was 136.
Woo!
Kathleen gets it. Wow.
It's getting close on that scoreboard.
It is dangerously close. After 3 rounds, Kathleen trails by a point. It is 23-22 going into the final round.
Wow.
And this one is the scoring system's different because you can wager as many points as you have and as few as 0. So the question, the Swedish chef is the incomprehensible preparer of foodstuffs from the Muppet Show. Yeah. Kathleen's looking at
Was
me a
that
little...
English? Like, what did you just say?
So the Swedish chef is from the Muppet Show,
Okay.
basically. I'm just giving you... Do you know the Swedish chef?
I know.
He's one of the puppets.
Oh, okay.
Well, a Muppet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Back to the question.
A little history.
Nearly all of his sketches begin with him in a kitchen throwing utensils while singing his signature song in a trademark mock Swedish, always finishing with bork, bork, bork. So that's just some more background on the Swedish chef. So the actual question. In an episode featuring Danny Kaye as his uncle, Danny claims the chef's first name is A. Bob, B. Tom, C. Tim, or D. Kermit. Kathleen, you have 22. James, you have 23.
You're ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought we were turning our answers into the...
Oh, yeah, you can turn them in. We'll do it that way. James, you turned in Bob for 10 points. And Kathleen, you did Tom for 1 point.
Ooh.
The correct answer is Tom.
Oh!
Yes.
So that means Kathleen is our big winner again.
Comeback story for the ages.
So final score, Kathleen 23, James 13. Because you get deducted your points.
Right. Man. Crushed.
Yeah. You really messed up there.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to have to really go back to the drawing board and think about my whole strategy for the next time.
I guess.
I think it was really the cancellation of round 2. That's where I was planning to take a big lead.
Yeah, that one was it was a haphazard game, but we made it through, and thanks for participating, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for coming up with some... I mean, honestly, the research you did on the SpaghettiOs and Chef Boyardee, I give you a lot of credit for it.
I mean,
this shows the testament to research at Apple Media Group.
I know. I can only imagine your search history, like Lay's potato chip flavors.
Well, I had to have 2 different tabs open when I was researching.
Compare-
One was SpaghettiOs, one was Chef Boyardee.
Did you find any overlaps?
I think so. There were some that were pretty similar. I
Tomato
believe.
sauce, cheese.
I don't know.
You had the A to the Z, and then you had the alphabet. I mean, come on.
They're similar, but it's supposed to throw you.
Right.
That's the whole idea.
I can just imagine like their inventors being like, all right, they already did A to Z, so what are we going to do? We're going to do
A to Z's and AB, or 1, 2, 3s and
1, 2,
ABCs.
3s and ABCs. It'll be vastly different.
And then accuse them of being anti-number.
Yes. So, James, thank you again for joining us. We're wrapping this up. We have to get going here. But James Carr with Longleaf Media. Check him out on Facebook, Instagram, websites. You got that.
Longleaf.media. That's the website.
And also check out AgLanta.
Yeah, AgLanta, aglanta.org. You can find out all of the different programs that are going on there. They host an annual conference, the food forest, as I mentioned. There's various volunteer opportunities if you want to get involved. So, yeah, definitely check out AgLanta. And, of course, we'd love to see you on Monday at the Botanical Garden. It's going to be a beautiful day, and you'll learn more about one of the most innovative urban agriculture projects in the country. So it's an exciting thing to be a part of, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Well, I'm AJ.
I'm Kathleen.
And this has been Lunch Break. Thanks for taking your lunch break with us.
Or morning break.
Or morning break.
Morning coffee.
Thanks for taking your break. Go eat some food.
What did we decide? Stay hungry?
Stay hungry. That's it. Okay, bye.
That episode was tasty.